Yo, 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 what is going on, good people of the internet? Hope you're all doing well today. I myself, I am doing very well. Fantastic, one might say, because I finally have my Commander Max back in action. And on Friday of this week, I'm going to Washington, D.C. for the 2025 D.C. Groundings. So things are going well in my book. If you manage to see me in Washington, D.C. with this very wheel, this Commander Max, please feel free to stop and say hey. I really love meeting all of you guys at the Groundings events, and that was one of the highlights of this year's Chicago events, was meeting you guys. So if you see me, feel free to stop and say hello. But no, in this one, I'm going to be giving you some updates on the Commander Max. I'm going to be talking about Washington, D.C. and just kind of tell you about my Commander Max ownership experience so far. With that being said, let's get into it, right? So this all started with Bogoti Boys, right? And then we found out about the Leaperkim Larrys. After Leaperkim Larrys, we moved on to the King Song Karens. After King Song came In Motion, the In Motion Idiots. That's all we had for a while, and then a new guy popped on the scene, the Nosfet. We're calling those guys the Nosfet Nancys. And now, today, I'm introducing a new species of EUC creature. It is the Extreme Bull Believers. I'm rocking the Extreme Bull Windbreaker here today. It is in Chinese sizing, so this is currently a adult 5 extra large, 5XL, and in the United States this would probably be like a medium or a small large size, or a smaller large size. But yeah, I am an Extreme Bull believer, right? I believe the marketing, I believe the specs they put into their wheels, and I believe that this company has what it takes to put out some incredible, banging, award-winning wheels, just like this Commander Max. But unfortunately, my experiences with this wheel have not been all too smooth so far. So the first week I had this wheel, you probably saw me unbox the wheel. You probably saw me go for a little speed test, do a first impressions video out in Michigan, and everything was going great with the wheel. In the first week and a half, I think everything was going great with the wheel. I really enjoyed the power it provided. I enjoyed the lights. I enjoyed the cool looks of the wheel. But I quickly found a defect in that the wheel would beep when the headlight was turned on. These red body lights didn't really impact anything, but when you had the headlight on specifically, the wheel itself would beep and give you some pretty inconsistent readings on the BMS. So the way that I went about resolving some of the problems that I was having with the wheel, or at least attempting to, was to get in contact with my dealer directly. So I got in contact with Millie at Extreme Bull. And her first suggestion was that somewhere in the production line, a wire had been soldered in the wrong place on the motherboard. So her recommendation was to me was to try and resolder this wire from one spot on the control board to the correct place. And after about a week of riding the wheel normally and just ignoring the beeps, I finally got around to soldering the wire in the correct spot. Now, unfortunately, I did the solder exchange, and unfortunately, when I turned the wheel back on, I heard a pop, and my motherboard was now dead, and I could not see anything. I couldn't get the wheel to turn on. BMS obviously blank. Power button doesn't work because the board was fried. Now that was annoying because I followed the instructions exactly how they described them in the video that was sent to me regarding resoldering the wire. So I knew something was not correct with that fix. So after some more back and forth with Extreme Bull, I managed to get a replacement motherboard. And when I installed the replacement motherboard, the wheel turned on and it worked, but there was absolutely no connection to the BMS. So the wheel was constantly beeping whether or not the headlight was on, because the wheel had no connection to the BMS. I go on the app and it looks like the wheel didn't even have a BMS. And I look in real life, and the control board where the BMS lights are on the motherboard, they were flashing in patterns that I had never seen before, right? So on the very first version of the wheel, when everything worked normally, there were the four red battery lights and then nothing else. When the BMS was messed up and the charge board was not working correctly, there was the four red lights on the BMS for the battery packs, and there was also a flashing blue light. And I tried different combinations of unplugging the battery connections to try and get some of those lights to go away, and none of them worked. So at this point, I have a motherboard that works. I have a charge distribution board that does not work. And I have a wheel that just constantly beeps. So after some more back and forth with Millie, I was able to receive a new power distribution board, also known as the charge board, to help resolve this. And this was a kind of a long process, right? They had me test a bunch of different things. And when I went to go receive the new parts, unfortunately I had to pay tariffs on those parts, which was really unfortunate. So the control board, the motherboard, was only valued at $50. That was the declared value, was $50. And I had to pay $46 worth of tariffs. So that's crazy, that's 95% or something. And then the charge board, she set the charge board value at $20 USD. And when the package came, I owed $26 of tariffs. So again, above 100%, not fun to deal with. I really don't like having to pay tariffs on parts that are out of my control, whether or not they break. So that was unfortunate. But yeah, sorry, it's been a month since I made a video, so it might be a little rambly. But basically what I'm saying is 2 weeks have gone by. I've tried 2 different charge boards. I've tried 2 different control boards. I've tried the new firmware that they just released. But after all of that, after all those changes, I'm left with a wheel that is in the exact same position as it was when I got it, right? So now the wheel works, but it still beeps randomly when the headlight is on. And the past few rides I've done with this wheel, I have just straight up ignored the beep. Alright, so for the past few rides, I've basically just been ignoring the beeps because I know that they are not real power alarm beeps, and that they're just some sort of communication error beep, right? So I don't know if I've ever shown you what it looks like, but on any of these modes where the headlight is actually on, so like this part or the flashing light, the wheel will beep mysteriously. So I'll go ahead and leave all 3 lights on, side lights, headlight, side light, whatever. I'll leave all of these on and see how long it takes to beep, and kind of show you what that looks like. This wheel, it kind of has a mind of its own, right? Sometimes I turn the headlight on and leave it on. It doesn't beep at all. Sometimes it does beep. Sometimes I'll be riding the wheel with the headlight on, and it'll beep when we're at a stoplight, but it won't beep when I'm riding it. So not exactly sure what some of these symptoms are referring to, but I'll kind of just show you what I'm seeing on my screen from the Bagode app, right? So when you have the light on, you obviously see over temperature alarm flashing. Now the wheel's at 36 degrees Celsius. It clearly is not having an over temperature. So if I go down here to the BMS, the battery information, this is what you're going to see. And this is what's the most alarming to me personally. But I do know for a fact these are all errors. Like, look at the top left. 3,022 volts in one specific pack. Does that make any sense? The single group current is currently 3,100 amps. Does that make any sense? How is one pack charging but the others are not? How is one battery over temperature or the other is under voltage or whatever, you know? Over temperature, under temperature at the exact same time. There's a fault status. I'm missing some of the batteries. I should have 40 instead of 37. Some of them look like they're dead. All right, now watch this. Press the wheel once, headlight is off, and in real time, you'll see all those errors go away magically. And boom, what do you know? We're left with a wheel that is perfectly balanced, has all of the cells showing up. Let's back out so the 40 will show instead of 37. Bam. So 40 cells are showing, all the packs are there. The voltage is accurate, the current is accurate, the status is accurate, cell balance, fault status is all accurate. And that only changes when I press the light. So again, I got the light on, come back to the battery status. Oops. Come back to the battery status. Bam. Craziness. Absolute craziness. This time I got 35 cells. Looks like I have 58,000 milliamps in one single cell. That's definitely something you want to look out for. But then you just click the button right there, power, and everything starts to slowly go back to normal. Look at that, 74 volts all the way across the board. Batteries getting equaled out. Yep, so yeah, very strange what's going on. But I have found that you can just straight up ignore the beeps and keep riding. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. For the rest of this video, I'm going to have the headlight on and I'm going to see if I can capture any of the beeps for you. While I have the wheel here, I kind of want to go over some of the new things that I found in the new firmware. So the firmware just came out a couple of days ago, and right after I updated it and installed the firmware, I jumped on the wheel and felt like the wheel was going a little bit slower than I remembered it going. Okay, so right when I upgraded the firmware on this wheel to the new version that came out a couple of days ago, I felt like the wheel was riding a little bit slower than it used to. And I wasn't really sure if this was, you know, they changed the power delivery of the motor or they changed the speedometer or something, but they did in fact change the speedometer to equal GPS speed, and that's huge. I'm really happy about that. Now there should be no more 10%, 12%, whatever gap between wheel speed and GPS speed when I'm riding. So hopefully you guys can see the real, true GPS speed of my wheel right now. And because the wheel is now at GPS speed, I think that's one of the reasons why it felt like the wheel was going slower, because, you know, the wheel had an artificial 10% increase before, and now it doesn't. So it might, you know, look slower. But real quick, guys, okay, I wanted to give you an update on my suspension. So if you can't tell, the mud guard right there, I cut off about 3 inches with a Dremel. And since I did that, the suspension has been awesome. There are no noises, no weird sounds, nothing like that. Like, it's just so buttery smooth. And now I'm ready to go on some stairs. Let's show you guys. And how smooth was that? Felt so smooth. But yeah, air suspension, I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling honestly quite impressed. I rode my X-Way for the first time in about 3 weeks after mainly riding the Commander Max, and I was taken back at how smooth the Commander Max was and how rough the X-Way was. after riding this wheel for some time. Alrighty guys, so that's really my update for you all on the Commander Max. To sum a long story up, I have replaced the motherboard, I replaced the control board. I tried to do the wire solder fix they recommended, but that did not work. And after replacing both of those things, the motherboard, control board, charge board, I'm left with a wheel that is still beeping when the headlights are on. It's very inconsistent when it beeps, right? Sometimes it doesn't beep at all. Sometimes it only beeps when I'm at a stop sign or at a stoplight. But for the most part, it is largely ignorable. And that is what I'm going to be doing going forward. So going forward, you're probably going to see me on my regular group rides, just riding like nothing is wrong, riding with the headlight on and enjoying all the functions of the wheel. Right, you may hear a beep every now and then. Oh, headlights off. You may hear a beep every now and then, but it doesn't bother me because I know they're not in any way related to the power alarm beeps. So I have really nothing to worry about. But either way, guys, I'm very excited to be coming back to Washington, D.C. here at the end of this week. If you guys see me on my wheel, my Commander Max, and you know who I am, please, please tell me hello. I love meeting all of you guys. As you know, it was a highlight of my time in Chicago to see all the fans and people I like to ride with and talk to on Telegram. So just want to say, if you manage to see me this weekend in Washington, D.C., please say hi. Come out and try the Commander Max, come out and test the power knobs, come meet the crew from Chicago. We are rolling about 10 deep this year. We have a lot of people coming to the city of DC, so it's going to be a great time. I'm already excited for the RAN, the ride all night, excited for the monument tour. Fuck ice. It's going to be a great weekend. Really excited to see you guys, but I'll go ahead and sign off here. So thanks so much for taking time out of your day to view life from the PEV point of view. Life is good. The Commander Max is back working again, and that means I have nothing to complain about. So can't wait to see you all out there on the streets. Be safe, take care, keep your head up high, and I'll see you this weekend. Alrighty guys, bye.